Hey guys, what's up? We're back with the daily videos. Yeah, today I just wanted to talk about something that I've been thinking about. The thought actually popped into my head when I was watching a video about a video game, a mod for Mario Kart Wii. The mod is called Retro Rewind, and the thing is, in that mod, what they do is they bring older and newer tracks into Mario Kart Wii, right? And the thing is, they do a pretty good job, right? But the thing is, you can't always bring the tracks intact into the game, right? So what they do is they recreate those tracks um for Mario Kart Wii, right? And the thing is, what made me think about the thought that provoked in me was that those tracks, are they really the same tracks as they were originally? Because if you think about it, once you recreate it with your own creative criteria and your own ideas and your own biases and your own sort of worldview, it is no longer the original art. It is not the same as if you keep, for example, updating a game, which would retain the original, which would retain the original sort of soul of the game, right? And even if you kept updating a track, for example, in this case, or a game, or I can't really think of any other creative works that are able to be updated over time. But if you keep updating a game or a track, even if you get to the same end point that recreating it would have gotten to, so even if you get the same result from recreating the track or updating it, there is something different about updating it from recreating it, right? Updating it retains the soul of the track because it is the same track that you started with. You've just been updating it to get to a certain point. However, the recreation, though it might be the same end result, it is not the same as the original track, but a copy of it, right? And this goes back to the same idea with other creative works, right? For example, paintings, right? What makes a painting valuable? What makes a painting, cost millions? Most paintings in history can be recreated nowadays if you study the style and the tactics that the original painter used, and they can be recreated quite well. In fact, there has been so many cases of fraud with recreating paintings, right? Because we've gotten so good at recreating them. And the thing is, really, if the painting looks the same and it provokes the same feelings and it's made with the same techniques, it's even made with the same materials, right? Then what gives the original value and not the recreation? And once again, you can tie that back to other forms of artworks. For example, a statue, right? You can always recreate a statue, but there's an intrinsic value in bringing an original statue from Greece, for example, right? and bringing it into your museum, even though you can simply recreate the statue and make it yourself and even make it better and even make it so that the lost parts of the statue, like the hands or the faces that have been eroded with time, you can even recreate those and make it better. And still, the original statue has more value than the recreation. And once again, this feels like it's a unique thought of our time, with video games, and this thought might have started with video games and modding video games, which is something really recent in history. But this problem that seems to be, or this paradox that seems to pop into my mind, is really, when you think about it, is really just a reimagining of the paradox of the ship of Theseus, right? If you don't know, the paradox of the ship of Theseus is an ancient paradox written by Theseus, which said the paradox tells the story of a boat, right, which is built from wood, right, from wood planks. And with time, the boat, with time and with the use of the boat, the wood erodes, right, and breaks. And so you have to basically exchange the old planks with new planks, right, to restore the boat and make it be still usable. And with time, the old planks keep eroding more and more, and you have to keep changing them with newer planks. And with a lot of given enough time, there's a point where the whole boat, inside of the whole boat there is no original planks left, because all of the original planks of the boat have been gradually and procedurally changed into newer planks when they have been eroded or when they have been broken or whatever, right? And there is a point in time where the whole boat is basically new, and so the paradox basically asks the question of whether the boat is the same boat as it was originally, or if it's a different boat now that all of the planks have been changed. Because, if you think about it, the boat has no trace left that would prove that the boat was actually originally from 50 years ago. Because if you test every single particle inside of the boat for a, I don't know, carbon date, you're gonna get that the boat wasn't from 50 years ago, it was from 25 years ago, for example, or instead of 100 years ago, it was 50 years ago, because all of the planks basically are from 50 years ago and not from 100 years ago, because the planks from 100 years ago have all been changed to newer planks. And so the paradox asks if the boat is the same. And I don't have an answer. I don't really have an answer to the paradox. But I don't really know what to answer to the paradox. I mean, I don't know if it's the same boat or not. I think I do have a slight, maybe an opinion towards saying that yes, it is the same boat, because there's something inside of it that never sort of disappears. I guess you could call it a soul. it is sort of the same as the way that I think about it is sort of like a an electrical an electrical loop, right? Imagine a really 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 long like electrical system, right? With a really 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 long wire that goes in a loop, basically, right? And you basically you have uh, pulses of electricity that go through the through through the loop, right? And at a certain point, you really quickly change a piece of the wire for a new one, right? You do it fast enough that in between the pulses of electricity, there is nothing that is interrupted. So what I mean to say is that the electricity is never interrupted. You do it so fast, the exchange of wire, that the electricity is not interrupted. You would think, or you would say that it is the same, exactly the same electrical system, even though the wire has been changed. Since you did it fast enough so that the soul of the system, which is the electricity, never stopped, then basically it is like the system is the same. And this also applies to humans. You can chop off your fucking hand and attach a new hand into your body. I mean, we do it with organs. We don't do it with hands, but we do it with organs. And when you attach the new organ or the new hand, it is basically the same human. It is not a different human just because you've changed the organ or the hand or the whatever part of your body has changed, right? You would never say that it's a different person. And so I guess what I'm trying to say is that I believe that I don't like saying that I think firmly that something is in a certain way. But I do think that I lean towards thinking that the boat is the same because of that soul that objects and humans have, that basically tells us that even if you change every part of your body, there is something, so long as the electricity keeps flowing in your body, you're still the same person. And I think that applies to objects too. And going back to the original, I was thinking of an idea that I had to do an actual uh, game of Mario Kart, but bringing every single original track, exactly importing it into the game exactly the same way that it was originally. And this idea came because of that feeling that I had of seeing a track recreated in this mod, and just not being able to keep that feeling out of out of me, that those tracks are not the original tracks. They are just an interpretation of those original tracks made by the mod creators, right? And I've also seen this in another video of a guy that made a repair of a machine, and he basically saw a part that was bent in the machine, and he said, well, to fix this bent, basically it was a long bar, right? And to fix it, since it's bent, what I'm going to have to do is to add a lot of material and then and then sculpt it back down into the original tube. And to do that would be a lot of work, a lot more work than just making a new bar from new material. And he just made a new bar. And I guess those people that do that don't really have the same feeling that I have, that there is an intrinsic value in preserving that original track, even if it's more work than just making a new one. But making a new one is basically killing or destroying that soul that is inside of the original bar. You're basically slowly killing the machine by replacing it with new parts, because you're killing the original track in the original bar instead of replacing it. Instead of repairing it, you're replacing it. And so basically the soul of that bar is lost because it is destroyed. So yeah, I mean, that's all really that I had to talk about today. It's a really interesting paradox to think about, and it's definitely an interesting dilemma to, to think whether you would feel the same way that I do, or whether you wouldn't. And I think that it's an interesting exercise to do every time that you're thinking of repairing something or creating something, and thinking if it's destroying the soul of the original by making it, a replacement basically, instead of a repair that would make it grow. You're just replacing it with a new one, which is, killing the soul that the original had. So yeah. Anyways, guys, let me know if you think the same way that I do about these things, and if you think about the soul of objects, if that makes any sense. Let me know if you think that as well as I do, and or if you don't think about that at all, and you think that it's stupid, and that you just there's basically no difference between recreating something and evolving something, even if the end result is the same, or because the end result is the same, there is basically no difference. So yeah, let me know which team you're on, and yeah. Anyways, guys, see you tomorrow in another video. Um, I'm gonna keep trying to do the daily videos. So far so good. Within 2 days in a row. So yeah. Anyways, guys, bye.